Right, hello, we are live. I'm hoping this is not just on YouTube, but also on our Facebook page and our Instagram account. If it's not, then I'm sorry to those guys if they watch this back later, but pretty sure it is working on YouTube. It's been a while. Obviously, did one of these in November, but a big long break before that. So you might not be aware just quite how these live Q&As are going to work. This is actually 100th live that I've done here. So a big milestone one to get done. Here for about half an hour, so until about 1:30. I've not done a lunchtime one before, so again, see who's actually here. Normally do it in an evening. But if you've got a question, please do just ask it in the comment sections. It should come through to me here in the software I'm using to do all the streams at once. And then I will do my best to at least answer those questions. So yeah, if anyone is there with a question, please do fire away. So it has been a while since we've done this and using different technology, so it is possible that I'm speaking to nobody right now. Let's find out. Let's see what's going on. One few things to share with you as well, guys. It's worth sort of talking about. It does look like it's live on Facebook as well. Amazing. Yes, brilliant. So, of course, a lot of the stuff that we can talk about in this session are going to be things that I cover over on becleverwithyourcash.com. The team over there at the website, obviously I'm not as involved as I was before now, but they're creating lots of content which will be able to, if you don't get a chance to ask a question in this session, you can find a lot of information over there on the website, and obviously plenty of videos that I've produced on the YouTube channel as well. And obviously we have a newsletter that comes out every single week as well, which is free, doesn't cost you anything, and that has all our latest content and the top deals as well. But again, if I don't have no questions from you guys, please do just fire any question. Hopefully, let me just see if it's something coming through elsewhere, and I will help you out. Normally, we don't have enough time for the questions, but I guess that is the difference between doing it at lunchtime and doing it in the evening. Let's have a look what's going on over there. Oh, hello. So Martin says, I've done 12 switches thanks to us. Well, I'm really pleased to hear that. That's going to be a nice lot of cash, I'm sure, coming through from that, which is wonderful. There are very, very few of these ones which you can sort of repeat again and again. But when they do come around, obviously it's a great way to keep adding on money to your balances. So I've just done the Lloyd's switch, which came through, ended earlier this month. I've done it and my wife's done it as well. And that's the first one I've done in a couple of years, I think, because so many of them sort of rule you out if you've had the money before. But that was a great one to come along and grab. There's a new, it's not quite a switch, but a new deal, which I'll talk about in more detail. I'm going to do a banks update next week of the offers and various news, which got link into current accounts from a provider called iFast, which is not a bank switch, because it's not part of the current account switching service, but it is about switching your salary payment over, and that's potentially worth £100. So that's one to keep an eye out for there. So Martin has said, with the Santander switch, I don't have household bills now. How do I get around the direct debit part? So this is an interesting one. So the direct Santander's bank switching offer would normally just allow a couple of direct debits into the account. But now it requires specifically to have a bill paying direct debit. And this is because the Santander Edge current account, which is what you're switching into, will only give cash back on those bills. So they're trying to say, look, put these bills in, these direct debits for these bills into this account and you'll get money back. If you do not have those, and sadly, there's probably not really a way around it. There's a large list of them. If you don't pay any bills at all yourself, then you're stuck. But you might find that your mobile phone provider, your broadband provider, you might be able to move them from a different account across. But otherwise, Martin, I think it might be a tough one there. However, they may come back with a different switch offer at a different point, which is broader and also includes the everyday current account, which doesn't have the direct debit for those particular bills. So you might be able to get around that if that comes around. But sadly, it does sound like you might miss out right now. Poor audio I'm hearing from the Bat Cave. Apologies for that, guys. It's right here. Should be all right. I'll turn it up a little bit, but hopefully that's a bit better for you. So guys, any questions, just fire away. You've got me until 1:30. So anything you want to know about anything sort of money related, I will do my best to answer this for you. In the meantime, I can just talk about other stuff. Martin is talking about that Santander with those direct debits. Could you have 2 cheap SIM card bills? Potentially, if those providers are listed on there and you can pay them by direct debit, then that might be a way around that. I haven't seen the list for a while now of what the actual different providers are in there, but worth giving it a go. So Simon has said, what are my thoughts on the PayPal debit card? Are you using it? So yeah, I am using the PayPal debit card for all my spending right now. If you saw my What's in My Wallet video, which I published a couple of weeks ago, a week ago maybe, taking you, that's the difference with that video and the other videos is I can tell you about all the different options out there, but that one was specifically what I am using myself right now. And I was saying about I've been using the American Express Platinum credit card for the last few months to trigger a big welcome bonus on that one. But as soon as that was triggered, which happened about 2 or 3 days ago, I've moved back to PayPal for everything now. The plan is to hit 24K of spending before the end of the year, which I should be able to do. The difference is between that and other cards is normally you can get a supplementary card. So any sort of spending targets we've had has been between me and my wife. It's been a lot easier. This will be just on me, but I'm going to see if I can add it to her phone, to her Apple Wallet, and then any sort of joint expenses that she makes, supermarket, petrol, whatever it might be, they will also count to that total, because then that will really upgrade how much the points that I earn from PayPal are worth. I've done a whole analysis video of this and a whole analysis article on this. So if you do want to know more about that PayPal debit card, do check that out. But at the moment, I'm a big fan of that, even though that standard 1% rate is lower than the 1.5% you can get with Trading 212 when it's boosted. I think in the long term, if I can hit that total at 25K, only on normal spending, I'm not going to spend more on it than stuff I don't need to buy, spend money on, then that will also bounce up to 1.5%, and there could be extra benefits that I can get next year as well. Okay, so we had that slow start, but we've got a few of you coming through now, which is great. Dano Lad says, this is about going back to the idea of the direct debits for the Santander switch. One tip is to sign up for an extra phone contract. So exactly what Martin was asking there, like Talk Mobile for 30 days. I've done it through Top Cashback for a £25 bonus. So I've got the money back. That's a really good shout there, Dano Lad. Thank you. Hope that helps Martin. John says, which prize saving account would you recommend for a high taxpayer? Premium bonds, chip, or any other alternative? So there's obviously higher rate taxpayers who earn over 50,270 and additional rate taxpayers who pay over 125K-ish. And they obviously be paying a lot more interest on their savings. If you are already using up your personal savings allowance as a higher rate taxpayer, which is worth £500 of interest a year, or you use up your ISA allowance, you can put 20K into ISAs, but you obviously might want to put some of that into investing rather than into cash, then I think premium bonds are certainly worth a look. The problem with premium bonds, in fact, any of these prize draw ones, the chip one as well, for example, there's no guarantee. So I've done a few of these now over the last few years, every 6 months. I've probably done 4 or 5 of these, actually looking at a couple of people. At one point, I don't have a friend as well, 3 people in there, exactly what they got with the full 50K saved in premium bonds. And it was a complete range, which it should be because it's just luck. So one of my friends has done really badly, even if he was an additional rate taxpayer with 45% tax on his savings, he'd been better with the savings in their savings account and paying tax, where someone else did a lot better and someone else did even better than that. So it is a real mix there. There's no concrete answer. But certainly I would say if you are an additional rate taxpayer, then it's definitely worth a look right now. Ken says, I've just joined in. Is there any new switch incentive by Co-op Bank? There is. It launched maybe a week ago or so. You might have missed it at the top, but I said I'm going to do my monthly update on current account news and offers next week. So I will look at that Co-op offer there. There's a few other things I'm going to share in that update as well. We have got an article over on becleverwithyourcash.com that one of the team has written up. I think it's £100 for switching in, and then 3 times £25 for keeping your money in there. There might be some other actions, but I'll talk about more about that next week. Lil Singe says, hey Andy, I've opened a Snoop account via the link on the email that was sent out. What's the time frame for this Amazon £5 voucher and how do I get it? Is it a code? So I'm not sure about that one. If you haven't had it, if it's been a while and you haven't had it, I would contact Snoop's customer support and find out from them exactly what the deal is there. But that offer is still going, so it shouldn't be an issue. If anyone has already got that £5 voucher and can share that in the comments, that would be really helpful. So Neil says, do you recommend, you say Strive, I think it's called Sprive actually, as a mortgage overpayment app? So this is an interesting one. You've probably seen a lot of those kind of roundup accounts out there. I've spoken about them before, where you spend £2.80 and 20p gets moved into a separate savings account. Depending which provider you use for that, you might earn interest on it, you might not. But it's a nice way of building up extra savings in your account. Sprive does the same thing, but for mortgage overpayment. So it lets you add little bits of money into your mortgage over time, helping to bring it down. Now, in principle, that's a great idea. Personally, I would rather take advantage, if I'm going to do roundups, do it in an account which earns me a higher rate of savings. And there are a few different options you can use for that. And then decide when I want to overpay, because your mortgage, you've got to remember, does your mortgage allow overpayments? Sometimes only 10% of the mortgage, sometimes it's none at all, sometimes there's no limit at all. So I personally would rather have my savings and make a conscious decision every single month to overpay. And there are other ways you can do this. Just set up a standing order out of your account when you get paid to move money across. And that's going to make more of a difference than just little bits of pennies here or there. But, you know, some people like it. It's worth doing it. Of course, if you are using that, your money can only go towards your mortgage. You can't use it for anything else if you need it. Whereas elsewhere, you have got that choice if something else comes up that needs the money. So Alex says, for travel insurance payable monthly, which I get included with a current account, if I book a holiday while I have the account and then switch current account, do I lose the travel insurance for that trip? Yeah. So when you have travel insurance, it's always worth booking it or getting it as soon as you book the holiday, because it's not just about covering you for the 2 weeks you're away. It's about covering you for the entire period up to that as well. So even it doesn't have to be an annual policy for that. You can literally go, I'm getting travel insurance for 2 weeks in July. I get it now in February. I'm covered if something goes wrong before that, but the trip that I'm covering is taking place on there. So if illness now that stops me going on that trip, that will be covered. Now, obviously, if you have one of these packaged accounts or even an annual travel insurance, you're only covered while that insurance is active. So if you cancel it, you move off to a different bank account, you'll need to get another travel insurance in place for that trip. Now, hopefully, nothing's going to happen between that policy ending and you opening up a new policy, because obviously if something happened in between that that meant you weren't able to travel, then you obviously wouldn't be covered because it would count as a pre-existing condition or whatever it might be. But yeah, it's certainly something to think about there if you're going to do that. And what I would say with packaged accounts, they can be really good value for money, but equally, if you don't need all the things that are on there, then they're not going to save you money. If you don't need annual worldwide travel insurance, for example, if you don't need breakdown cover, if you don't need gadget cover, you know, you're just going to go away for a couple of weeks, you protect your phone with a case and a screen, and you don't really drive, then just get a separate travel insurance policy. But we've got a whole guide over on Be Clever with Your Cash. Doey's written that up, looking at a number of different options. And the recent one there is from Chase. They've just introduced a packaged account there. Well, it's a separate add-on, but you need the current account first to get it. So Serif says, hi Andy, can you draw your interest from an ISA and would you pay tax on it? I have 4 ISAs, was thinking of drawing off the interest and paying it into my private pension pot. A good idea or a bad idea? So I would keep any interest or gains you make from money in an ISA in that ISA. As soon as you take it out, you don't pay tax on it, but you will be paying tax on any interest or gains that you get from that money. Whereas while it's in the ISA, those gains will still continue. So you could move it, for example, into a stocks and shares ISA from a cash ISA, that money, and that will remain tax-free and you'd get that investment growth. Now, of course, you wouldn't have any the tax relief benefits that you can get potentially if you're a higher or additional rate taxpayer by putting more money into your pension or those employer contributions. So in that case, if that's the only place you've got money to do that, that's a calculation you'll need to work out. But I certainly wouldn't be sort of taking the money out of the ISA just to put it somewhere else if I don't need to, because it is protected there. Because once you've taken it out, remember as well, you can only put it back in within your annual allowance. Now, the annual allowance is pretty huge, right? 20K. For most people, that's fine. There is going to be a change next year or the year after where it goes down to £12,000 for cash in an ISA, but that's still quite a lot for people. So despite me saying all of that about don't take it out if you don't need to, if you don't think you're going to fulfill those allowances every year, you can obviously put it back at a later date, as long as you don't go over that limit. Borch has asked about gold and silver. That's not something that I will be I cover here on the channel. Obviously, there are pros and cons for it, but yeah, and not one I can help you with, I'm afraid. So Dano just sort of come back on that Snoop offer. If the voucher doesn't arrive within 30 days, contact their support. He had to email to get the voucher. So make sure you do that. Don't forget about these things. With all these things, I always make a note when the offer is going to come round or when it might be due, so I don't forget about it. So for example, many of you might have taken advantage of that Santander £100 voucher offer that I shared with you. When was it? November time? December? Something like that. the emails should be coming from today. Over the next couple of weeks, there should be an email coming through. So I've got a note of that to keep an eye out because I don't want to miss it. Sarif says the trading 212 rate has dropped considerably. Thinking of moving it. Can you move it into a higher paying ISA? I think the trading 212 is constantly rolling. Is that correct? So yeah, when you have an easy access ISA, you can transfer. It's really important you do something called a transfer. You don't just withdraw the cash and pay it back in anytime you want. So you'll be able to do that with trading 212 because it is an easy access cash ISA. If you've got a fixed rate ISA, you can actually withdraw your money and transfer it any time, but you'll pay an interest penalty. And most of the time, that's not going to be worth it. Potentially, if there's an absolutely massive difference in rate, like maybe you fixed 5 years ago and it wasn't very good, although to be fair, 5 years ago possibly wouldn't be too different to where we are now, and something now was really special, then maybe it'd be worth paying the penalty. But on the whole, you wait until that fix matures, and then you can transfer it to a different provider for whatever the best rate is. El Buenabaros says, has anyone else had trouble switching to Lloyds? We tried several times and the app would always log us out after spending the time applying for the joint account. Is it usually that bad? So it shouldn't be, but these things do happen. Obviously that switching deal has now finished. Hopefully they'll bring something else back this year. Whether it'll be that 250 again, I don't know, because that was a really high paying offer. But saying that, they had a £200 one not too long before that, which wasn't too bad. So if you've encountered those issues, it's certainly worth phoning them up or going into branch and seeing if you can apply that way. But just be sure there isn't a term in the conditions that say you have to apply via the app for the switching offer to count. Some banks do that. Off the top of my head, I can't remember which ones, but something to think about there. Someone's asked, Train 212 has returned their 1.5% cash back. When is this ending? So I don't know for certain. I haven't had a look. Normally you can go into the app and it will tell you the rate is until X. Last time I looked, it was until the 28th of February. It's the end of this month. They do tend to always extend it. There was a gap around October or November time where they didn't for a couple of weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised if they keep doing that to remain competitive. One of the conditions used to be that you had to auto invest that cash back that you made. So again, you don't have to keep it in there once it's invested. You can move it out to savings if you don't want to keep it invested, but you have to be aware of that as a consideration there. So Catherine says, hello, I love the channel. I jumped on the call at the end of you mentioning switching your salary into an account for £100. Could you please provide further details about this bank? Yeah, so as I mentioned there, I'm going to talk about more about that offer next week, probably next Wednesday. I'll do a whole my current account news and offers update, but it is currently featured over on becleverwithyourcash.com/banks, which lists all the bank switching offers. It's not a bank switching deal, it's a salary switching deal, potentially worth 100 quid. Andrew says, hi Andy, I got the standard BA AMEX credit card in February 2025. Do I have to wait until 2 years is up before being eligible for a welcome offer on another AMEX? I'm keen to move credit card and looking for recommendations. So the rule with most AMEX credit cards is you can't have had one for 2 years. It doesn't matter when you opened it, you can't have had one. You have to close the account down, and that can take a few days afterwards. When it officially is, this account is now closed down, the clock starts ticking, and 2 years later, you can then apply for another American Express credit card. There are 2 exceptions to this. The Platinum card, which had an offer which ended, when was it? Start of this year. That one you can get as long as you haven't had in the last 2 years the Platinum card itself, the Gold card, or the Rewards card. So if you had any other card, you have the BA one as you have, Andrew, you could have the Nectar one, the Cashback one, any of those, you'd be eligible to get that one again. I would, however, wait until that welcome offer comes around, the boosted offer comes again, normally 2 or 3 times a year, because it's a huge £650 fee that comes with that. So you want to get as many points as you can and other perks and other features to really justify that. I think if you do that, it works. Otherwise, I'm not a huge fan. And then there is obviously the British Airways Amex card, the Premium Plus, BA Amex Premium Plus. That one you can get as long as you haven't had any of the BA Amex cards. So sadly, that one doesn't work for you. But if you had any of the other cards, then you'll be able to get that Premium Plus one, not the free BA Amex, the Premium Plus one. You can get that. And there is an offer running right now for another week, maybe, something like that. Maybe only a few days. But sadly for Andrew, you've got to cancel that Amex and then wait. Now, because that's the BA one, you're earning Avios points. You won't lose them. They'll be moved to your Avios account already, so there's no risk there. How are we doing here? So, Violet is my colour too. Says, hi Andy, I want to get retirement planning advice, e.g. to review my pots, but financial advisors ask for 2 to 3% of the whole pot, which is insane. Do any work on a flat rate or any tips of where to start? So, Not one of the areas of my expertise here. Ultimately, it depends on the size of your pot. For vast amounts, it can be worth doing it because you'll save this money back in the longer term. Some will do fixed fee. You have to shop around for that. There are websites which will look at particular financial advisors and give reviews on them. I think one's called Vouched For, and there's another one, can't remember what the other one's called, but they are potentially worth a look there as well. Potentially, also, if you do want to do it yourself, it is possible. There's Pete Matthew, who runs the Meaningful Money podcast and YouTube channel. He is actually a financial planner himself, runs a whole business. He's a lovely guy. He might have some information there on his YouTube channel about which really focuses on retirement and planning, about what you can do there and how to find a financial advisor. I think when I was looking for one a few years ago, I might have looked at a video of Pete's on that as well. So, we'll get off race through these questions now. Guys, keep asking questions. Got another 10 minutes before I'm going to disappear. So, Side Hustle UK says, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Amex Platinum Gold business card bonus changes from a bonus amount of rewards points to a much less valuable amount of Amex travel credit? So do you know what? I don't really look at the business content cards that often, so I haven't looked into detail on those. So not something I can help you with there. I suppose what you've got to do with all of these different offers is have a look at what they're saying, work out exactly what that return is, and is it worth it in terms of what you might have to pay. You know, with all these offers, I talk so much about cashback deals, welcome deals, and how you can really make them profitable for you. But that's only the case if you're actually going to do it, because no point paying for anything if you're not going to use it and take advantage. You know, you could pay £100 to get £100 credit, but if you don't use it, wouldn't use £100 credit normally, you're spending £100 you wouldn't have parted with. So hopefully you can find some information on that just on the Amex website. Labid says, I got my first credit card from HSBC a few months ago with a £1,000 starting limit, and it is paid off in full every single month. Is it a good idea to go after the Amex cashback card after 6 months? So you may have seen, I've just done a video about first-time credit cards, basically for people who don't have a credit history, but it could equally be for anyone who's got a bad credit history, because that reason of getting one really shouldn't be for debt. Yes, many people have occasions where they need to borrow. A credit card isn't always going to be the best option for you when you do that, particularly when interest is charged. And yes, there are those perks like the cash back and so on. But the main reason is to get one just to boost your credit report. Use it sensibly, as it sounds like you are, on everyday spending and clearing that balance every time a statement comes through. Again, a whole video on that just maybe at the weekend, maybe just a few days ago. Then how you move on from there, I wouldn't rush it. But there is a way to find out whether you are able to apply for another card which might have some of these perks, such as cashback, and that is the eligibility search. And I cover that in more content in that video. It won't impact your credit report to do this soft search. I would go to a comparison site to do that, because it gives you generally many of the options. They're often not whole of markets. There might be some cards missing, so you might, if a card that you're interested in isn't there, you might want to go directly to that provider's website. Again, look for the eligibility search rather than make an application, because that will give you your chance of acceptance. So you might find, you've only had it a couple of months that you've been using this card. It may well be you're still able to qualify for the Amex everyday cashback card or any other kind of reward card. It might say you've got a really good chance of getting accepted. It might say you've got a really low chance. Then it's up to you. Obviously, if it says 0 out of 10, don't apply. Although you do hear sometimes about on the comparison sites, the 0 out of 10 doesn't correspond by doing the eligibility search directly on the provider's own website. But if it says that, obviously 0 out of 10, don't do it. If it's 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, well, there's still a chance. It's up to you how desperate you are. I want to say desperate is not the right word. How keen you are to get those rewards. What I would say about rewards, though, remember, you can get rewards from debit cards. Right at the top of this, I talked about the PayPal debit card, which it's not a credit card, and you can earn points back from that. So really, if you're not confident you're going to get accepted for one of these cards, then maybe just look at some of the other options instead. And at the start of the year, I did best cashback cards, debit and credit reward cards. So have a look at that for some other options. So Lowen Barrow says, I've just purchased a trip to Nepal, and as I earned Avios points, I opened an Avios account, but couldn't tell if it cost anything or not. Can you clarify, please? So Avios is completely free. It's basically like Club Card or Nectar, okay? When you earn Avios points, they've got to sit somewhere, so they sit in your Avios account. There is no charge for that. There are ways that you can pay for Avios. If you're really, really into it and you're collecting a huge number of them and you're taking advantage of companion vouchers and all that kind of stuff, then maybe there can be an advantage to that. But broadly speaking, if you're getting them from your flights, from Uber, somewhere else has just started getting letting you earn Avios points as well the other day, doesn't matter at all. I think it's TodayTix, the theatre booking website. So there are other ways you can collect them and they'll sit there and they won't disappear. I don't think they do at all anyway. Maybe after a certain amount of time they do, but generally you can put them there and they'll sit there. So you don't need to worry about that at all. So we've got 5 minutes left. So they've got a few more questions. That's great. So AC Mr. Amon says, hi, I have a Barclays credit card, but what I've noticed that in the month I'm not using it, my credit score goes down. So I need to use it every month, spending 50 quid. Yeah, I talk about this in that video from the weekend. So even if you're not the first time getting a credit card, but you are looking at using a credit card to boost your credit score, do check out that video. Simple idea is spending you would do normally, supermarket, petrol, whatever it might be, that you can afford, put it on your credit card, and then when the statement comes through, clear it. Because that will report to the credit reference agencies, there are 3 of these, that you are using credit, which they like to see, but you're paying it off. And over time, that will help. Now, obviously, there are loads of different factors in there which could be impacting your credit score. So that might not be exactly what is making it dip down, but it's certainly something to, if you can, to be doing that. Now, it sounds bizarre, doesn't it, that you've got to use credit, even though if you're not using credit, you think you're doing a good thing. It's actually hurting you longer down the line if you do want to access the best deals. So Rax says, hi Andy, is it worth opening a lifetime ISA considering it's going to be scrapped soon? Plan to save for a house soon and I don't know if I should just save into a savings account instead. So I've actually just recorded a video on that, which is going out on Sunday night. So that looks at the proposed changes to lifetime ISAs. We don't have a huge amount of information right now, but we do have some info. So that would hopefully help you make a decision there about what to do with lifetime ISAs, whether you're a newbie or someone who already has one. With switching deals, is there usually a time you have to remain with that bank or can you keep switching whenever you like, please? So once you've got the switching cash, you can switch away from that bank, no problem at all. Some switching offers have parts, so you get the initial money, but then if you want to get another amount, you have to stick with them a certain amount of time, maybe perform certain actions, and each offer is different, okay? So obviously if you leave before that happens, before the money is in your account, then you're not going to get that part of the cash. So that's not a problem. In terms of coming back, it will depend when the bank runs an offer, if they have a cut-off date. Normally, now, they'll say if you've had any money from that bank before, you won't get it. But sometimes they have a certain date, a cut-off date, which can change. So when I do these monthly updates looking at the best current account special offers and current account news, which I'm going to do one of those next Wednesday, that's when I can sort of run through new offers, exactly what those promos are. Or sometimes I'll do a whole standalone video looking at those particular offers and articles on Be Clever Your Cash as well. So you can find that. If not, just go to the bank's own terms and conditions and it will tell you if you've had the money before, if you're able to get it again. Okay, so this is probably the last one for you guys then. So this is from Uyo. It says, hi Andy, can you please clarify paying back credit card? It's important to repay in full monthly after the statement is issued, but when does interest get charged? Is it just the 1 to 2 day window? And what if those days are weekends? Yeah, so when you are using a credit card to boost your credit score, then you want to make sure, actually remember, credit score is just indicative of your credit report. The really important thing is the credit report and the credit file, the information that's held there. The score is just an indication of what's good in there. So really you're boosting your credit report rather than your score. You want to make sure, as I said a moment ago, that the money you've spent and the payment are reported to the credit reference agency. Okay, so therefore you want to wait until that statement day, because generally that's when that information gets sent through. Obviously they're all different, they might do it at different times, but if you wait until then, and then the statement goes through, it means it's going to help your credit score, help your credit report, and then the statement comes through and then you can pay it. Now, I would always set up a direct debit so it gets paid without forgetting, okay? But there is a date when the statement comes through, say it's issued on the, it's issued on the 15th, and then it will say your payment is due by, I don't know, the 30th. I can't remember exactly what it is. It might vary by provider. You've got until then before interest is paid. So as long as you do it before the date the payment is due, or on that day, you'll avoid interest at all. Now, of course, if you're not fussed about improving your credit report or credit score when it's much higher, you can pay it off whenever you want. There's no need waiting for that. Again, this is covered in that video I did on Sunday about first-time credit cards to boost your credit score. So do check that one out. So guys, thank you so much. So live 100. I was a bit slow start at the beginning, but I wasn't great at shouting about this one to everyone. So you might have missed that it was happening. So we had a bit of a slow start at the beginning, but great to see so many of you join during this. I hope that we'll be able to do many more of them, potentially back at that evening Q&A time as well, which obviously is easier for a lot of people. But remember, becleverwithyourcash.com. That's where the team, although I'm not running the website anymore, I am still writing content for them, still producing the videos. So loads of information there about many things we've spoken about, and their newsletter that goes out every single week, becleverwithyourcash.com/newsletter. That's how you can sign up for that. A lot of the things you've spoken about to me today, you've asked me about today, those same questions if you're reading the stuff we're producing every week, you'll just get this stuff as we go along, and it kind of gradually sort of build up your knowledge and your confidence. Right, that's it, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you again soon.